As of October 2023, after 5 years of debate and amendments, the Online Safety Act is now UK law. It's been controversial. The government wants to put far more responsibility onto large user-to-user services and social media platforms, such as YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, TikTok, etc., to keep their users safe from experiencing harm online. Ofcom has been appointed as the regulator, who will have enforcement powers to use against these large companies who don't conform. The Act also introduces new criminal offences that relate to the actions of the public online, which I'm going to explain in this video. So, the reasons for this video are to firstly give you a heads up of what changes you might start to see on social media and content sharing platforms, and secondly, raise awareness of the new offences. We want you to know what now constitutes an illegal offence, so that victims know that they can report these crimes and receive support, and also so that people can avoid unwittingly becoming a perpetrator. I mentioned more responsibility placed on social media giants and user-to-user services, but what does that mean? They are going to need to put much more emphasis on user safety, bringing in new features and offering additional transparency about their business. They will need to publish a detailed risk assessment that includes whether children are likely to access their services and the types of harm that they might be at risk of. Where harmful and age-inappropriate content exists on their platforms, they will need to make sure that children cannot access this. This might involve bringing in age-checking measures, such as face recognition technology that accurately predicts your age. They will need to have properly resourced teams whose job is to proactively remove illegal content, such as child sexual abuse images or fraudulent adverts. This sort of content should be removed before it even appears on your homepage. They will need to remove content prohibited by the platform's own terms and conditions. This puts the ball in the court of the online platform. In theory, if they do their risk assessments thoroughly, they will be able to identify what harmful content should be prohibited by their terms and conditions. Crucially though, whatever they choose to include in their terms and conditions, they must be able to enforce. They will need to give adult accounts more tools to choose what content they engage with. For child accounts, however, these filters will be applied automatically to safeguard them from viewing or engaging with content that is awful but lawful. And they will also need to be more open with parents and children about the process of reporting problems. Ofcom, the regulator, has produced a draft code of practice for how online platforms should protect people from illegal harm. Once it's through the consultation period and has been approved by government, online platforms will need to adhere to it. If you scan the QR code on the screen with a smartphone camera, this will take you to the full document. Alternatively, you can Google Ofcom draft code of practice for illegal harms. I have picked out some of the noticeable changes that are in the proposal that, once approved by government, are going to make a real impact on your experience on social media and content sharing platforms. The first of these apply directly to children's accounts. It's proposed that children should not be presented with lists of suggested friends. Children should not appear in other users' lists of suggested friends, and children are not visible in other users' connection lists. Similarly, children's connection lists should not be visible to other users. Accounts outside of a child's connection list should not be able to send them direct messages. And children's location information should not be visible to any other users. Any location information should be opt-in. Supportive information should also be provided to children in a timely and accessible manner. This is to help child users make informed choices about risk by giving them information, access to safeguarding processes, and support on a service. This might be through a pop-up box with information when they are seeking to disable one of the default settings recommended on the previous slides, which are there to reduce risk. Imagine, for an example, a child wants to turn off the mechanism that blocks strangers from being able to contact them. They should be prompted with information about why this is there to keep them safe. They will also receive helpful information when responding to a request from another user to establish a formal connection, when receiving a direct message from another user for the first time, and when taking action against an account, including blocking and reporting. This slide relates to all users, not just children. Users should be able to block or mute other individual users, and be able to be uncontactable by users that they don't yet have an on-service connection with. Users should be able to disable comments relating to their own posts, including comments from users that are not blocked. These 2 points ensure that only people you know and are comfortable with can communicate with you. Also, improved public transparency for users about what verified status means in practice. Does that verified tick mean that it's a genuinely notable user or a paid-for user? When searching, illegal content should either be deprioritised or not appear at all for UK users. Keyword search and hash matching should greatly reduce the number of fraudulent ads and child sexual abuse material. Hash matching is where an image known to contain child sexual abuse material is given a unique code, making it quicker and easier for platforms to identify if someone attempts to upload this image. Where a user uses obvious search terms for child sexual abuse material, they'll be provided with content warnings. If they search for suicide content, such as practical suicide methods, this will trigger a pop-up containing crisis prevention information. There's also the recommendation of a dedicated reporting channel for fraud. Complaint systems and processes should be easy to find, easy to access, and easy to use. And when you make a complaint, you should be informed of how long this will take to resolve. The expected timeline on screen shows us when we are likely to see these codes of practice approved by government, which platforms must then comply with. For illegal harms that I've just covered, this is likely to be the start of 2025. For duties relating to child safety and pornography, this is likely to be late 2025, and for transparency duties, this is likely to be early 2026. Now on to the new offences. The aim of this video is to bust some of the legal jargon and present the new offences in a simplified format. But if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the legislation, we have a presentation that we're hosting on the Safer Derbyshire website. There's a QR code link at the end of this video. Our first offence involves sending flashing images to a person with epilepsy. For it to be an illegal offence, it must meet all of the 3 conditions. Number 1, they send an electronic communication that includes flashing images. It could be a video or even a GIF. Number 2, it is directly sent to a person suspected to have epilepsy. So, for example, via a messaging app, or sent to a place where a person with epilepsy would likely see it, with the intention of causing them harm. So, for example, posting a flashing GIF on X, formerly known as Twitter, with hashtags accompanying it so that you know that it's going to get some attention, or onto an epilepsy support Facebook group. Number 3, there is no reasonable excuse for sending the communication. This clause was intended to take away from people who might say that they were just doing it for a joke. Offence number 2 is cyber flashing. This is a different type of flashing from the last offence. We're talking about genitalia here, and not specifically your own. A person who intentionally sends or gives a photograph or film of any person's genitals to another person commits an offence if they intend that the receiver will see those genitals and be caused alarm, distress, or humiliation. Or they send or give such a photograph or film for sexual gratification, and they're reckless as to whether the receiver will be caused alarm, distress, or humiliation. When we're talking about sending or giving such a photograph, this includes electronic communications, showing it to another person, or placing it for a person to find. This offence is designed to be based around the intent of the sender, rather than whether the victim consented to receiving such an image, to try and minimise the impact on having to revisit the offence with a victim. Our third offence is the false communications offence. A person commits an offence if they send a message conveying information that the person knows to be false. At the time of sending it, the person intended the message or the information in it to cause non-trivial psychological or physical harm to a likely audience, and the person had no reasonable excuse for sending this message. This offence is designed to target those who are deliberately peddling fake news and disinformation online. It's not an offence to unknowingly share false communications, but you should still be careful about sharing something that you've read online. Is it from a trustworthy source? What are the motives behind that person sharing that news online? Offence number 4 is the threatening communications offence. A person commits this offence if they send a message conveying a threat of death or serious harm. And serious harm includes injury amounting to grievous bodily harm. It also includes rape, assault by penetration, or serious financial loss. At the time of sending this communication, the person intended the receiver to fear that the threat would be carried out, or they were reckless as to whether the receiver would fear that the threat would be carried out. Reckless is the key word of that final clause. It's defined as deciding to act without stopping to think of the consequences. This was included to counter a legal defence of, "I didn't realise it would cause them to be alarmed." Offence number 5 is encouraging or assisting self-harm. A person commits a self-harm offence if they do a relevant act capable of encouraging or assisting the serious self-harm of another person. Relevant acts are communication either by electronic means, in person, or showing a communication. It includes publishing material by any means other than electronic means. Sending, giving, or making available to a person an item on which data is stored electronically. So, for example, giving someone a USB stick with self-harm tutorials on it, or sharing access to an online drive of self-harm content. Also, for this to be an offence, the person needed to intend to encourage or assist the serious self-harm of another person. Again, the word intended is important here. So it's all about the context behind the message that you were sending or giving. And the final new offence is sharing intimate images. This offence may be very wide-reaching in terms of the number of people who can commit the offence. An offence is committed if someone intentionally shares a photograph or film which shows or appears to show another person in an intimate state. So this could be a naked photo or video of someone, or even a deep fake video. Notice the phrase there, appears to show. The person in the image does not consent to the image being shared, and the sender does not believe that the person in the image consents to it being shared. Considering we're talking about intimate images here, this may be most of the time. Let's apply this to an example. Imagine that your friend puts a naked photo of a colleague into a group WhatsApp. You know that the colleague probably does not want this to be shared, but everyone in the WhatsApp group then sends it to their wider circle of friends. Everyone in that WhatsApp group has just committed an offence. If you are worried that you've been a victim to one of these new offences, please contact Derbyshire Police on 101 or 999 if it's an emergency and someone's at risk. If you have concerns about a child who needs a safeguarding referral, you can contact Derbyshire County Council on 01629 533 190 or Derby City Council on 01332 641 172. You can visit the Internet Watch Foundation website to help child victims of sexual abuse. The Internet Watch Foundation hunts down and removes any online record of the abuse. In 2023, they removed almost 400,000 images from the internet. You can visit the Report Harmful Content website for advice for anyone who's come across harmful content online. And they also support those users over the age of 13 who have already submitted a report to the industry and would like the outcome reviewed. You can also visit Derbyshire Victim Services for support when falling to any type of crime, including cybercrime. And finally, we at Derbyshire County Council have developed a free tool to help you to keep safe online. It's called the Digital MOT and it takes just 5 minutes to complete. Simply answer a few questions about your online behaviours and it will email you with a personalised list of actions, really simple steps that you can take to improve your online safety. You can find the Digital MOT at saferderbyshire.gov.uk/MOT. We've covered a lot in this video. Thank you for your time in watching the video. Please share it with a friend, family or colleague. And if you do want to get in touch with any questions, my email is on screen, jamie.dean@derbyshire.gov.uk. Thank you.